Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. There we go.
Some good checking.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Page 62 in your prayer books. We begin this evening with a prayer for peace. The words of Oseh Shalom are at the bottom of the page. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom. It is nice to see everybody who... Am I on? Oh. It is nice to see everybody who is here with us in person, and welcome also to those who are online. Shabbat Shalom. We take a moment and we turn to those near to us, in front of us, behind us, next to us. We wish each other a Shabbat Shalom so we are not praying as strangers. Test 1, 2. That's
Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen.
In a minute, we'll light our Shabbat candles. And we placed 3 candles that we're going to light tonight. And just to make sure that we're very Shomer Shabbat, we'll light the first one and then we'll light our Shabbat candles. And this is intentionally not a yahrzeit candle. It's not a candle that we're lighting in remembrance. But it's a candle that I want you to think about, what are you feeling? And that is what I want you to see represented in this candle. You might be feeling grief. You might be feeling mourning. You might be feeling sadness. You might be feeling anger. Perhaps somewhere deep down inside each of us, I pray that there's a little feeling of hope. Whatever is the feeling, and it could be about the war in Israel, it could be about something you experienced this week, but whatever it is, when we kindle that light and it slowly takes over and it stays burning, I pray that you see both yourselves reflected in it, but that it gives us a little bit of strength as we move forward tonight. Page 2.
Sing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר להדליק נר של שבת.
As we turn to page 20 for Lachado D, we welcome the Sabbath bride, and one of the metaphors the Kabbalists teach us is that we get an extra soul on Shabbat, an extra soul to help us celebrate, to help us process what happened this week, an extra soul just to help lift us up on Shabbat. We pray together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, כי מיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת ולתחילה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Turn to page 28. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our call to worship. Baruch Hu. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. Continue with our prayer of oneness on page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Page 36, the continuation of those words we chant together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ve'dibarta bam ve'shivtecha beveitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On page 42, we're going to offer as a song in a minute, but there's a phrase in Hashkivenu that we don't often, it's not part of our music, and it's not the verse we're going to sing tonight, but it says in the Hebrew, Ushmor tzeitenu uvavenu, l'chaim l'shalom me'atava ad olam. Guard our going and our coming for life and for peace from this time and for always. And we might find it a bit interesting that it says, guard our going and our coming, instead of guard our coming and our going. And it's very much intended that this understanding perhaps that we have a Sukkot Shalom, even perhaps a Shalom Bayit, a peaceful home from which we go forth and we come back to. And that sense of peace can be shattered at home just as equally as it can be shattered out in the world. And Hashkivenu talks about all of the things we might encounter along the way: enemies, illness, war, famine, sorrow, and wrongdoing. And so it's a prayer of journey, but it can also be something that we ask God to bring us here in our home. And this, of course, can all be thought about as a metaphor, not as a physical home, but what is the place that you find yourself centered? I know for me personally, I've been knocked off of that center a little bit, and so I might ask God to guard both the coming and the going, as well as the going and the coming, to help kind of bring me back to that center. So whatever it is, whatever the Sukkot Shalom, this temporary dwelling space of peace that you need tonight, I hope that it can help center us as a community as well as us individually. We continue on the top of page 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu Eloheinu leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
In a minute, we're going to rise for our tefillah prayers, the Amidah. And as part of the daily liturgy of the Amidah that we don't do on Shabbat, one of the 19 blessings is that we say, Shema Kolenu, hear our call. You might remember Kenny singing Shema Kolenu beautifully during the High Holy Days. And sometimes when I am confronted with a situation that is so bewildering to me I don't know what to do, is I write a prayer. The psalmist writes, from out of the depths we cry to you, listen to my cry. Let your ears be attentive to my call for mercy. Shema Kolenu, hear our call now. When our world knew suffering, you answered the call. A call that called out to you from the depths of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the call of the Israelites from Egypt. We don't know who called out to you. We don't know why they called out to you. And when we call to you now, will you answer us? What does it mean to simply call for something? Are we asking you, maker of heaven and earth? Are we asking ourselves? Today our calls seem to be different. They are derived from deep personal and communal prayer. But sometimes these calls take the form of legal documents. Be it resolved that we do hereby call for a permanent ceasefire to end the ongoing violence in Gaza. We call for humanitarian assistance, including medicine, food, and water. We call for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. And be it resolved that we call for the creation of plans to protect civilian populations in the region. Does our city council call out to you, the ultimate source of peace, to enact these wishes? Are they calling out to us, the citizens of Chicagoland? Are they calling out to Hamas, the leaders of Israel, Qatar, the US, the UN? Who are they calling upon to achieve this goal? God, I'm calling out to you for these things too. I want peace just as much as anyone else. I don't know anyone who doesn't want peace, except Hamas, except right-wing fanatics who are attacking Palestinians. They don't want peace. I don't necessarily believe that Netanyahu wants peace either. But I want the killing to stop, the hostages to come home, for parents not to worry if the child will make it home safely, to not worry if they will survive. I've long prayed and worked for peace in Israel and in Palestine. And today it seems I have no one else to call to, so I call to you. Perhaps this resolution is simply supposed to be understood as a prayer. Either way, I know that it is a prayer that will only divide us further. alienating those of us who feel an existential connection to the Jewish state. And according to the ADL, God, it has already made our kids more vulnerable to anti-Semitism. Mimamakim karati chalai, from out of the depths we call to you. Listen to our call. Let your ears be attentive to our prayers of mercy. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens bring peace for us, for all of Israel and all who inhabit this earth. And together we say, Amen. We rise in body or spirit. We turn to page 46 as we call to God to bring us closer.
Adonai, sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 48. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Koneh HaKol, ve'Zocher Chazdei Avot v'Imachot, u'Mevi Gehula livnei v'nehem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Page 50. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayecha kol atarav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morit hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayecha kol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal givurot, Umido melach, Melech meimit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Vene'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Page 52. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedokshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We turn together to page 253 for our Mishaberach prayer of healing for those in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We are, of course, thinking of all of those who have been harmed mentally, physically, and spiritually by the war in Israel and Gaza. We're thinking of those in Ukraine. We're thinking of so many conflicts that have erupted around the world. And of course, we're also thinking of those in our own lives who are in need of healing, a refuah shlema. If you are thinking of somebody in particular, I invite you to share their name either out loud or in your hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Makor Refuah, blessed are you, Adonai, the source of healing. Page 253.
Of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We take a moment for our own silent prayers.
On page 60, our evening prayer for peace. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We think in our services always of those who are no longer with us. Tonight we are especially remembering 3 people who have died in the last 30 days. Isabel Horwitz, Lev Podorovsky, and Benjamin Krause, all of blessed memory. And we link to their names those whose yahrzeit, the yearly anniversary of their death, falls on this Shabbat. We remember Maurice Crafton, Yvonne Soar, Ann Bialis, Thomas Axelrod, Elaine Worth, Halland Hoberger, Henry Strauss, Herbert Bristol, Hazel Carlton, Jerome James Jerry Brosnan, Sidel Kushner, Sheila Siegel and Howard Galloy, Shirley Kohler, David Wishnick, Harold Lewis, Joshua Cohen and Matthew Cohen, and Sylvia Palu. If there are additional people for whom you are remembering in this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name out loud at this time. Zichronam Levracha, may their memories be for an eternal blessing. We turn to page 294 and we rise in body or spirit for our ancient words of mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'yama divrach hirotei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon v'chayedachol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam olmei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudisha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'ama v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and all who dwell on this earth. And together we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen.
Forgot to tee this up at the beginning of services. So if you did not receive our emails today or earlier this week, we did an abbreviated service. We hit all the important notes. And we're going to pause. And in a minute, we're going to turn off the live stream. So we're going to bid those of you online farewell. And we're going to Kenny and I are going to invite you to head into the social hall and to sit at some round tables. One of the things that I know a lot of people have been asking me personally for is just an opportunity for reflection. And I don't even know what day it was. On Sunday into Tuesday, I was with Missy up at Azrui, which is Olden Sang Ruby Camp Institute. It's the URJ Reform Movement Summer Camp. It's not where I went as a kid, although my wife, Jenny, went there as a kid. But we have about a dozen kids who go there now, and it's an incredible place. And we were with clergy, we were with rabbis, cantors, and educators preparing for the summer program because we write the education programs for the kids over the summer, and we were beginning that process now. Now, one of the faculty at Azrui, and somebody who grew up there, we're really blessed, is Rabbi Josh Weinberg. He's Rabbi Michael Weinberg's son, if you know Rabbi Weinberg. And Rabbi Josh Weinberg grew up in the greater Chicagoland community, and he is now the president of ARTSA, the American Reform Zionist Association, which he's one of the vice presidents of the Union for Reform Judaism. So he helps influence and be a voice for the reform movement on matters of Israeli policy. A lot of the work that he had been doing is Israel, towards Israel, and then really post-October 7th, he's been doing a lot with congregations to help process and frame. And he asked us, he led, and it was beautiful because he led morning services on Monday morning with his dad, which was really a special moment. And he helped model, Rabbi Weinberg helped model a beautiful way to do reflection that we're going to invite you to do. And Kenny and I are going to model what that might look like. He invited us to think about 3 questions. 3 questions. One is, what are you feeling? What are you feeling conflicted about? And what are you feeling hopeful for? Feeling in general, feeling conflicted, and feeling hopeful. And I really appreciated, and then he said, now what we're going to do is we're going to turn to small groups like we're going to model here in a little bit, and use I statements, right? Remember those I statements? I'm feeling, and what we're going to do here at Sukkot Shalom tonight is not we're not going to, I'm not going to be sitting at every single table and you're all adults, but I'm going to invite you to not get into conflict with each other. We might have disagreements, and that's natural. That's what happens when there's at least 2 Jews in a room. But we're just to be able to hear and to speak out loud some of the things you're thinking and feeling. And one of the things that I hope you come away with is that no matter what you're thinking, but most importantly what you're feeling, is that you're not alone. Because one of the things that I know I'm feeling is loneliness. So I'll process this feeling question, and then I'll turn it over to Kenny. I'm feeling four primary emotions about the war: anger, loneliness, sadness, and fear. I'm feeling intense anger. The anger is directed at Hamas. I don't understand why we don't have a gleaming Gaza and instead have an incredible, intricate network of tunnels. And I don't understand why, for decades, this hatred has just been fomented over and over and over. I'm really angry at Netanyahu, as I've been for many years, and the Israeli government, that over the last 40, 50, 60 years, we could have been building Palestine. We don't need a partner to build. We've been building settlements for Jews in the West Bank and erecting fences and barriers, but we could have been building. I know that most Israelis don't support Prime Minister Netanyahu, and in fact, a majority of Israelis believe that he's acting more in his self-interest than in the interest of Israel or world Jewry, which is incredibly scary. I'm angry that the government has not done everything they can to help the hostages out. And I'm angry at the settlers who live in the West Bank, who are instigating fighting and making life even more intolerable than it already was for the Palestinians living there. I'm very angry at the American liberal left. I count myself as a member of that group. And that gets into some loneliness. I'm feeling lonely because I've worked so hard as a progressive American Jew to fight for so many causes. And I feel abandoned and deserted by those who I marched with in the streets. The core message that I learned from almost now a decade of anti-racist work is to ask questions and learn and accept multiple narratives before making assumptions and acting. And I feel like Jews are never afforded that opportunity, which is making me feel lonely, but it's also making me feel sad. And I'm really sad about the growing anti-Semitism. I am hearing just some horrific things from some of our students. It's not necessarily that I feel scared physically on a daily basis. I don't, and thank God there's been no major attacks on Jews. There's been a lot of threats. But in schools, I'm hearing all of these microaggressions of kids in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade just spouting out, "Oh, you're a dirty Jew." Things that I never thought I would hear in my lifetime. I'm feeling sad about the divisions within the community, both the Jewish community and the broader community. And I'm feeling incredible sadness for the attack, the hostages, and all of these children. So many children. And finally, I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling fear of the world that our children are experiencing and the long-term impact this is going to have on all of the children everywhere, including our very children who grow up here. I'm fearful of a much larger global conflict that can erupt from this. And I have a true fear, an existential fear for Israel's future to continue to exist if this were to grow into a much larger conflict. So now, Kenny, what are you feeling?
I echo everything that you've said, Rabbi, and I resonate with essentially all of it. I think the feeling word that you use that I'm resonating most with is loneliness. I am of the online generation, and that's where a lot of my absent-minded time or free time is spent working on that. And it's been it's been polarizing to the point of, causing me and others in my Jewish friend groups and otherwise to be very upset with how impossible it seems to have a conversation in which what you say doesn't immediately cause the person you're in conversation with to go down the checklist of assumptions just based on that one statement or even sometimes just a couple of words. That's been very isolating and very frustrating. And so, as I said, I resonate an enormous amount with that loneliness word.
So what are you feeling conflicted about?
I'm zeroing in on what you noted about the actions of the Israeli government over these past few months and my profound desire and concern for the immediate and safe return of the hostages, as well as friends and family in Israel and friends of friends and family of family in Israel for whom I'm deeply worried, and not sensing that same concern and care for well-being from the government that I think the majority of world Jewry has expressed in some way, shape, or form. There's a disconnect there that I don't even know if conflicted is a strong enough word. What are you feeling hopeful about, Rabbi?
Hold on, I'm just going to share my conflicted really quickly.
Excuse me.
I wish I have a lot written for feeling and a little bit for conflicted, and only one sentence for hope, if that gives you any sense of where my head's at. Here's what I learned on Monday as I process this question. I'm feeling conflicted about feeling less conflicted. I'm feeling conflicted about feeling less conflicted. And I fear that my heart is hardening a little bit more than it ever has in the past. I have fought for the Palestinian cause for a very long time, for a two-state solution. I have lobbied the United States government to continue funding after the previous administration pulled funding for the Palestinian people. And after October 7th, I am feeling conflicted that my center has moved more to the Israeli right. And it's an inner turmoil that I am constantly wrestling with. Like Rabbi Sharon Brous spoke to Ezra Klein many months ago. She said, we cannot lose our humanity in this. It's so easy during an unbelievably horrific conflict like this to lose our humanity. And so I'm constantly working to maintain that sense of humanity and compassion for all people while I wrestle with my own particularist inner feelings. I wrote, this is a hard one under hope. Because hope is feeling quite far away right now. And the more I read, the less hopeful I become. I'm hopeful by some protesting that I'm seeing in Israel against this current government to say, enough, let's just focus on getting the hostages out and then stop for a little while. Hopefully a little while is longer than 10 days. It's a very long time. I'm hopeful this is going to be the end of Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, and Smotrich, that they are going to be out. Netanyahu is the prime minister, and Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are these two very, very right-wing racist people who are members of Knesset with way too much power, but they're not actually part of the war cabinet. And I'm hopeful that perhaps this will actually mean an end to Hamas's rule, and that will come closer to a two states, because that's the only way I actually believe that there will be peace, is with two states. What are you feeling hopeful about?
I share the hope found in images and text and examples from Israel specifically of people coming together to protest. And I, in terms of the online engagement, was very happy to have come across an organization called Standing Together, which I think does a remarkable, it's an organization that brings together Israelis, Palestinian Israelis, Arab Israelis in Israel to peacefully protest, hold space as we are doing, to grieve and to share feelings. But it's a wonderful organization that, in terms of the loneliness I've been feeling and the polarization, there's none of that in the things that they are putting online and the texts and videos that I'm seeing from them. So that has been a comforting find on my end.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you're joining us online and that inspired any sort of thoughts and feelings from you, if you're with somebody, obviously feel free to engage in this sort of conversation and make that a part of your Shabbat this evening. If you are watching by yourself, please know you can send us an email. We encourage you not to share thoughts in Facebook and YouTube comments, but if you have thoughts that you'd like to share with us via email, please do so. And of course, we're always here to set up appointments to chat as well.
And just one last note, the word ceasefire, I've written dozens of letters to our community that have gone unsent because they don't get quite where I want to in the end. The word ceasefire has become so divisive lately, but And I don't fully understand why, because I believe everybody actually wants ceasefire. I don't know anybody, and I'm just giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. We all want this war to end today. Nobody wants any more killing and any more bloodshed and any more destruction. So I encourage us, I want to open this up because this is a safe space for everybody, regardless of how we are feeling and where we might be. But I want to encourage us to maybe shy away from that particular word, but get deeper. Like, what does it mean as we are calling and hoping for certain actions to be taken by various parties who actually have power to perhaps make some of these changes? Because I think when we get beyond rhetoric, I really believe that most of us have the same sense of care and the same darchei shalom, the same drive to pursue peace. So we're gonna take the challah and grape juice up to the social